Hello everyone, now I'm going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics, May-June 2025, Paper 2-1. Number 1. The speed-time graph for a racing car is divided into 4 sections, P, Q, R, and S. The car starts the race but soon crashes into a wall of tires. Which sections of the graph show that there is an acceleration that is changing? So this is a speed-time graph, and if acceleration is changing in speed-time graph, then the gradient will not be constant. So in here, it's just zero speed, right? And start to accelerate. Now you see the little bit of curve. So this could be where the acceleration is also changing. And then right here, speed is constant, and this is also a curve, so R is also changing. But as you can see that this is like a straight line, a very sharp, constant acceleration. So on Q and R, C. 2. The diagram shows the 4 forces acting on an aircraft in flight. Which arrow shows the direction of the resultant force? Resultant of the 4 forces. So we can break this, make this simpler. We only have 2 directions, right? At like 2 different kinds of direction. We can subtract this from this, and this would be left with 60 kilonewtons. And then the resultant for x direction is going to be like this, and the resultant force come from here. It looks something like either A or B. So which one to consider is, you can use the angle like graph as well. You can use trigonometry as well. This is 60, this is 20, opposite by adjacent. 10 inverse 60 divided by 20, that is 71 point something, so this angle will be really large, so it will be B. 3. The diagrams show 2 metal blocks X and Y suspended from identical force meters. X and Y have identical dimensions. Which statement about X and Y is correct? So they have different weight, which means different masses, but identical dimensions means same volume. So we can think about density already here. So they have same equal volumes and different weights. 4. A girl has a gold necklace. Which apparatus does she need to find the density of the gold? So to find density, right, we need mass and volume. So to measure mass, we need balance, and it says gold necklace. So this is an irregular object, which means we can't just simply measure its volume with a ruler or anything like that. We need measuring cylinder with water. We need to use the displacement method to find the volume. So balance, measuring cylinder, we don't really need thermometer or ruler, right? So only balance and measuring cylinder, so B, C. 5. A spring has a length of 25 centimeters when a load of 2.0 newtons is suspended from it. The spring has a length of 35 centimeters when a 7.0 newton load is used. What is the constant of the spring? So we have this equation, right? Force applied is equal to spring constant into extension. So if we want K, we will divide force by extension. So force, the difference in force right here is 5, and then extension is going to be 10, so it'll be 0.5. B. 6. The diagrams E to H show a block of wood on a frictionless surface. In each diagram, the block has two forces acting on its sides. Which diagrams show the block in equilibrium? So equilibrium means there is no net force or no net moment. So in E, they don't, the forces, the line of action of the forces, they don't pass through a single point, a common point, which means that this force will apply here, it will start to rotate instead of being in equilibrium. So this will be wrong. And for F, it is the Newton's, the forces they're acting in the same direction, so we'll move in this way. And here, this is 2 newtons. This will be minus 2 newtons, and the resultant will be 0. So G could be an option. And for 2, this is also the same. This will be minus 2, this will be 2 and 0. So G and H, that will be D. 7. Which statement is not correct? A. The momentum of a system is conserved in all interactions. Well, this is true because there's something called a conservation of momentum, right? So total momentum before collision initial is equal to the momentum after the collision or final momentum. So B, impulse is equal to change of momentum. This is also true, just another name. C, force acting is equal to change of momentum into time. Well, actually force is equal to rate of change of momentum, which means time will be divided instead of multiplied. So this is the wrong answer. And D, momentum is equal to mass into velocity. This is also correct. So answer will be C. 8. A force acting on a moving ball causes its motion to change. This force stays constant. What makes the force produce a greater change in the motion of the ball? So force, it will act in that is the resultant force, and that will stay constant. So we need to consider F is equal to ma, and this is the resultant force that they act in, and acceleration shows the motion, right? So if we want to create a greater change, which means greater change in acceleration, what can we do? Right? But the force will stay constant. So let's just look at the options. A, decreasing the total mass of the ball. So you can see that mass will affect the acceleration. So if force is constant, so if mass increases, then acceleration will decrease. So this is the correct answer. We will look at the other options as well. B, increasing the temperature of the ball. You can see that the equation doesn't really show anything about the temperature. It doesn't really affect anything in these in these quantities. C, using a ball with a hollow center but the same mass. So mass is the same and no difference. D, using a different material for the ball so that it has a lower density but same, if they have the same mass, then there will be no difference. 9. A farmer has 2 carts. The carts have the same weight, but one has 4 narrow wheels and the other has 4 wide wheels. Which cart wheels sink less into soft ground, and what is the reason? So this is testing about the pressure, right? So sink less means lower pressure, and we know that pressure is equal to force divided by area. So we have the same force because you have the same weight, they will experience the same force, but then less pressure, which means area is greater. So wide wheel will have less pressure on the ground. So 90. 10. A hot gas and a cool liquid are at the same pressure. Which row describes the separation and the motion of the particles of a hot gas compared to those of a cool liquid. So you have to consider the same pressure. Separation of gas particles. Obviously, the gas particles, they are more free. They're more free. They are free to move. They just wander around. So separation is definitely greater. And motion of gas particles, because they're gases, right? They have more energy, so it will be also faster. 11. A fixed mass of gas has a volume of 1.2 meter cubed and is at a pressure of 200 kilopascals. The gas expands at a constant temperature to a volume of 1.8 meters cubed. What is the new pressure of the gas? And we have this equation, right? PV is equal to constant. So 1.2 into 200 kilo, they will just cancel. We just leave it right like this, and 1.8 into the pressure. So if you put that in calculator, you will get 133.33, so on. And that rounds down to 130 kilopascals, so B. 12. The specific heat capacity of solid P is greater than that of solid Q. What does this statement mean? So before we think about that, let's consider the equation, right? C is equal to delta E divided by M delta T. So P has a greater one, right? So A, less energy is needed to raise the temperature of 1 degree Celsius of unit mass of solid P than unit mass of solid Q. Well, the equation says that if there is higher specific heat capacity, then energy will be greater, so this is wrong. B, less energy is needed to melt an unit of mass solid P than unit mass of solid Q. But this is specific heat capacity isn't really about melting, anything like that, but still this is wrong because of less energy. C, more energy is needed to raise the temperature by 1 degree Celsius of unit mass of solid P than unit mass of solid Q. So this is what we're looking for. Answer is C. And more energy is needed to melt. Again, this one, specific capacity, it hasn't really nothing to do with melting. 13. When water evaporates, what escapes from the surface of the water? So in individual molecules, B, we know that water molecules high energy, they will escape. 14. A sealed container of gas is heated. The pressure of the gas increases. Which statement explains this increase in pressure? Because of the rise in temperature, they will collide with the walls of the containers more frequently and with high energy. So, as I mentioned, forces, yes, because they have more energy. And B, the forces of attraction between the gas particles, that doesn't make any sense, no attraction, right? And C, the gas particles collide with each other more frequently. Now if you only they collide with each other, then there will be no pressure. It's not about colliding with each other. This is about colliding with the walls of the container to exert pressure. D, the gas particles lose more energy when they strike the walls of the container. This also isn't relevant to increase in pressure. 15. A student has a copper rod and a wooden rod. Both rods have the same dimensions. The student puts one end of each rod into a beaker of crushed ice. After a few minutes, the student picks up the rods by the ends not in the ice. So this is testing about conduction, right? So which statement is correct? A, the copper rod feels colder than the wooden rod because copper is a better conductor than wood. Well, yes, if it is a better conductor, which means it will conduct heat. The reason why you feel cold when you touch something is that it conducts heat from your hand to themselves. So if it's a better conductor, then they will get heat from you faster and you will feel colder. So A is the correct answer. And copper rod will not feel warmer. And these two statements both say wood is a better conductor, which is clearly wrong. So A. 16. The diagram shows a black object at constant temperature. The arrows represent the absorption and emission of gamma radiation at the surface. Object Y is at the same constant temperature as X, and it's identical except that it has a white surface. Which row correctly compares object X with object Y? Because of its white surface, I have it will reflect more instead of absorbing. So black surfaces in general, they have a higher rate of absorption and also emission, right? Because they absorbed more, right? So the answer would be A. 17. The diagram shows a cork with a weight attached so that the cork floats upright in the water. Transverse waves travel across the water from X to Y. In which direction do the waves make the cork move? So transverse waves, which means that the motion will be perpendicular to the direction of propagation, which means it's either it will be kind of like this, which means it will be B. Now this one is a bit like longitudinal waves, and only to the round these two don't make sense. 18. A thin convergent lens is used as a magnifying glass. How does the image compare with the object? So magnifying glass obviously will be virtual. You don't see the real image, virtual, and because it's virtual, will be upright. D. 19. The diagram shows two plane mirrors at 90 degrees to each other. A ray of light is incident on one of the mirrors. The ray reflects off both mirrors before reaching a screen. At which labeled point does the ray reach the screen? So this is the ray of light, and if we try to draw with same angle right here, you can see that it's about B. Right. Yeah, you have to be careful about the angles right here, right? The laws of reflection say that I and R be the same. So be B. 20. The speed of light in a material is 50% of speed of light in the air. And what is the refractive index of the material? So refractive index N is equal to C by V, and 50% of the speed of light, which means 1 by 0.5 is 2p. 21. A beam of white light is split into a spectrum of 7 colors. Which name is given to this process? This splitting into 7 colors, it's for dispersion, right? 22. Satellites are sometimes used to receive and retransmit television signals. Which row shows the type of satellite and the electromagnetic waves used? so television signals, which means they will have to be like in high up there, and so they use geostationary. And types of electromagnetic wave use microwave. D23. A sound wave travels through the air and strikes a solid block of steel. Some of the sound is reflected from the steel and some is transmitted through the steel. How does the speed and the wavelength of the sound compare to the speed and the wavelength of the sound in air? So speed of sound is faster in solids, right, because of higher density. So speed will be in steel, we're talking about in steel, so greater than in air. And because frequency will be constant, if velocity is greater, then wavelength will be greater as well. D. 24. The diagram shows a bracelet containing two magnets. The arrows represent the pattern and the direction of magnetic field due to the magnets. Which row identifies the magnetic pole at J and the magnetic pole at K, where the magnetic field is strongest? So you can see that magnetic pole this is X or Y. So we start with where the field is strongest, right? So this is where they start to, the strength of the magnetic field, you can look at it by whether the lines are close or not, and it is closer at X, it will be either A or C. And magnetic pole at J, since they're like, okay, now let's just consider this, right? So since they're coming out and they will like be like this, if they come out, then that will be north, right? Because magnetic fields, they will always go from north to south. So if you're coming out, then it will be north. The same for this as well, they're coming out. So A. 25. Which row describes an electric field and its direction? So electric field is a region in which an electric charge experiences a force, not current, and direction is on a positive charge. 25A. 26. The copper wire is available in fixed lengths spanning various diameters D. Each wire has a different resistance R. Which relationship between R and D is correct? So R is equal to rho L by A. A is going to be D squared divided by 4. So it will be inversely proportional to D squared. 27. The diagram shows three 20 ohms resistors R1, R2, and R3, and a switch S connected to a DC power supply. Switch S is open. The potential difference across R3 is 9 volts. What is the potential difference across R3 when switch S is closed? So when it's open, right, the voltage will go across R2 and R3, and they are identical. So if R3 gets 9, R2 gets 9 too, which means our total will be 18 volts. And when the switch is closed, now this whole thing, this is in parallel connection, it will have 10 ohms of resistor, right? You can calculate that by using this equation, but in general the shortcut is that if you have like identical resistance with same resistance and they are connected in parallel connection, you just divide the original resistance by 2, which is 10 in this case, and this will remains 20. So if we want across R3, we have 30 as a whole and 18 whole, so you get 12, which is C. 28. The circuits shown all include DC power supply, 1 diode, and 2 light emitting diodes, in which circuit will both LEDs be turned on. So current will flow from positive to negative. So now this is in wrong direction, so it's wrong. Trace is also wrong direction. Well, you can see that this goes smoothly, so C will be the answer. But again, this is in wrong direction. 29. A wire connected to a resistor R is moved in magnetic field. The current is induced in the direction shown. In which direction will is the wire moved? So there is induced current due to motion, so we have to use Fleming's right hand rule. So if you put your 3 fingers in perpendicular direction, and magnetic field will be north to south, which means it will be from left to right, and then induced current is coming out in this direction. So the thumb, you will find it pointing downwards. So let me draw this properly. So your finger will be from left to right, and then your induced current will be like this, and you will find that you're using your right hand, right? This will be pointing downwards, so it will be C. 30. Which component is not found in an AC generator? So qualify, you will find an AC generator. It doesn't use split ring commutator, it uses slip rings, and you need magnetic poles obviously for a generator. So that is B. 31. There is a current in a straight metal wire in the direction shown. Which rule describes the direction and the pattern of magnetic field due to the wire when looking directly from the above? So you have to use the right hand grip rule, like with your thumbs up and fingers curled around, let's say like a pencil or something, and you will see that the pattern will obviously be circular, and for direction it is going to be like this, which means it is anti-clockwise. A. 32. A simple transformer contains an iron core. What is the function of the iron core in the transformer? To conduct current from primary coil to secondary coil. You don't really have to do this. It's not about conducting, it will be induced current. B. To enable the secondary coil to act as an electromagnet. Well, the iron itself will become an electromagnet, so not necessarily. C. To ensure that there is a high voltage between primary coil and secondary coil. Again, it is about strengthening the magnetic field to be transferred to secondary coil, so that there is induced current. So, which means it is for linking, try to link primary coil to the secondary coil. So it will be D. 33. In an alpha particle scattering experiment, a beam of alpha particles is fired at a very thin piece of gold foil. In which direction do most the alpha particles travel after hitting the foil? It says most. So you know the nucleus, they are mostly empty space, so it won't face with the nucleus in the middle, so most of them, they will just pass through easily. It will be A. 34. An atom of boron contains 5 protons and 5 electrons. The nuclear number of the atom is 11. How many neutrons are there in the atom? Well, 11 minus 5 is 6. B. A detector placed near a radioactive isotope gives a measured count rate of 800 counts per minute, and the half-life of the isotope is 3 hours. The background count rate is 32, and what is the count rate in the detector after 6 hours? So half-life is 3 hours after 6 hours, meaning after 2 half-life, and it is now 800, but you have to subtract 32 because it's background. So 768 divided by 4, like 192, and then you have to add 32 again, which is 224. C. 36. Sodium-24 is a radioactive isotope that emits beta radiation. Which nuclear equation shows how sodium-24 decays? So beta is like electron, which means 0 mass, and only electrons, so 11, so minus 1 as a charge, and you have to make sure that the numbers here from left hand side is equal to the right hand side. So 24 0 is equal to 24, 11, 12 minus 1, so A matches. And C and D, this is like alpha, so it's wrong. And for B, it is like, it will be 9, right, in this case, so that is wrong. 37. Which safety precautions must be taken when using a source of gamma radiation? Reduce the distance between the source and the person. Well, if you reduce the distance, you will be closer, which isn't the ideal case, right? So this is wrong. Reduce the time of exposure to the radiation. Yes. Use a suitable sheeting material between the source and the person. Yeah, this is to absorb the gamma radiation, so your body won't absorb it. So 2 and 3 only. D. 38. A student defines 3 periods of time. Time TS is taken for the Earth to orbit the Sun. The time TI taken for the Earth to rotate once on its axis. Time TM taken for the Moon to orbit the Earth. Which row shows the shortest period of time and the longest period of time? So this is 1 year, 365 days. This is just 1 day, 24 hours. This is like a month. So shortest would obviously be this one, TR, and the longest would be TS, B. 39. Which statement about the universe is correct? The universe consists of 100,000 galaxies. Well, it doesn't just contain 100,000 galaxies, more than like billions, or even endless. You don't really know. A is wrong. B. Redshift is a decrease. Well, it's not a decrease. It's an increase in observed wavelength of electromagnetic radiation emitted from receding galaxies from the Earth. C. Light emitted from distant galaxies appears redshifted. Oh, well, this is true because they are moving away from us, and the observed wavelength is greater. D. Redshift of the light from distant galaxies gives evidence that the universe is contracting. No, this is actually showing that it is expanding. 40. Which statement about the cosmic microwave background radiation, CMBR, is correct? A. CMBR now has a frequency higher than that of infrared radiation. Well, this is microwave, and when the universe is expanding, right, the wavelength will only increase. When the wavelength increases, frequency will decrease. So no, A is wrong. B. CMBR has always had the exact same frequency. As I just mentioned, it is changing its wavelength. If it's changing the wavelength, then the frequency is also changing, because electromagnetic radiation, they travel at a constant speed of light. C and B had a shorter wavelength in the past. Yes, and it is the universe expanding. That's why the wavelength will increase. D, CMBR was produced a long time after the universe was formed. This is also not true. It is formed like shortly after the universe was formed. So this is the end of the paper, and good luck with your studies.